Call me so I can make it juicy for ya.
Hey guys, what's going on? Willie here. Super excited to bring you today's video. I know it's been a while since I've made one of these, but I'm excited to bring you today's video, which is Udyr is going to be insane in the new season. So recently I did a run up to Masters. I did this primarily off stream just because I could only play here or there, and honestly I was working remotely from home and I happened to have a second monitor, so I couldn't really stream these games. And as you can see through this climb, there are very few games that I lost where I wasn't either the ace or I had a really poor KDA, right? We had a really clean run up to Masters, and this entire time something felt off to me about Udyr, right? Something felt as if games were too easy. I no longer had to focus as much when it came to games. I kind of just got to 2 items and then carried. I feel like it was a flexible build. I was not only playing Phoenix, but I was playing Tiger here and there. Like in games where my team was struggling in the attack damage department, I would then switch to Tiger Max, and I was still winning games on both forms. And so going into preseason, I knew there were going to be a lot of changes. So yesterday I decided to play a few games on stream on my Willie account. And if there's anything that's apparent to me, it's how flexible Udyr is and how ridiculously strong he is in both forms. So I played with a lot of variations of runes. We played with PTA, Phase Rush, Conqueror. We took Treasure Hunter, we did Sudden Impact, we did all sorts of variations. I did Phoenix, I did Tiger. All of them felt strong. And that leads me to my main point as to why Udyr is going to be OP in the next season. Udyr can be played in whatever form you want him to be played, and every single item synergizes well with his kit. You can go both attack damage, you can go Phoenix, you can go tank, you can go squishy. There are so many ways to play, and I'm going to show off what I consider to be the best ways to play Udyr, highlighting some of the builds that I personally have tested, not to mention the many more to come as people continue to develop items. Alright, first and foremost, I always like to look at the base stats here. So shout out to Zerkazi3 on the Udyr subreddit, has done a lot of work for us. What are we looking at here? What he's done is he's gone into a practice tool and he's tested items for AD Udyr. So I'm going to try and attempt to break this down very quickly for you. The long story short is, if you have a Prowler's Claw and you're using the active, these are the numbers that you'll see. And you can see that the total, what these numbers represent, like this 3,800 number, that's the amount of damage you're doing, just the raw output against whatever his constraints are. I can't remember what he did, but he used the same constraints for all his target dummies. So if you're doing 3,800, that means any number in this chart that is less than 3,800, even the highlighted ones, means that it's less damage. So as we can see, the highest damage build you can do on AD Udyr is Prowlers plus Marijuana, and I personally have tested that. My good friend, if you guys watch my stream, Luke Legend 120, he's a challenger coach. He personally came up with that before these numbers were released. He told me that he has his own way of testing items, and he said that's the best way to build Udyr, and so I believe that Prowlers plus Marijuana is the single highest way to build damage on Udyr if you have the proc. Now, the important thing to remember is if you do not have the proc, you have 3,000 damage only, right? Or it's 3,200. I can't remember which. Point being is, in order for this damage to come out, it is extremely reliant on you using the Prowler's proc. Without the Prowler's proc, there are better options, right? So Triforce plus Marijuana, I think, is the second highest option you can go. And then outside of that, Ravenous Hydra with the nerfs make it the third worst item. So, long story short, Prowler's Claw is the best item, in my opinion, on Udyr, unless they have a lot of tanks, in which case it's actually Eclipse into Blade of the Ruined King is the best tank shredding build. If you're just going to be playing normal Tiger, I would recommend trying to go Prowlers into Marijuana into Ravenous Hydra. That will probably serve you the best and give you the most amount of success. I also want to take a second and shout out a fellow content creator, Metasolare. He and I have gone way back for a long time, but he is a high elo Tiger player, and he says that for preseason, his preferred Tiger build is actually, it's the Iceborne Gauntlet into Titanic Hydra. And he said that's his staple and his bread and butter. He's also been experimenting around a lot with other things. As you can see, he's tried Prowlers, he's trying Heartsteel. So if you guys want a good high elo Tiger player, this is a really good resource to check out. He's on the NA ladder. If you want to look at his OPGG, it is Metasolare, and he is probably going to be a really good person to copy. Now I want to take a second and talk about the other side of the coin, which is Phoenix. So a lot of people have been playing Phoenix in the preseason. I abused Phoenix at the end of last season to get up to Masters. It's what most people consider to be the best way to play Udyr. And in the past, what we were doing was we were taking Cinderhulk into Demonic. It's kind of crazy to me. I haven't played in 3.5 years. I'm coming back to the game. Building tanked allowed us to do more damage than building damage. Now that the items have changed, however, we have to look at really what makes sense for the preseason. So Phoenix got the most amount of changes with the new items. What I have found in a nutshell, Jack Show is a trap, don't go that item. Heartsteel is really, really good if they have a lot of melees. If they don't have a lot of melees, or if they have a lot of ways to do % health damage, think of champions like Vayne, for instance, or like Master Yi. Champions that can shred tanks, I wouldn't go Heartsteel into. I actually think that Rod of Ages is going to be probably what most people stick to. It's going to be either Rod of Ages, or alternatively, I could see people going Heartsteel. And then past that, picking up a Demonic Embrace, and then just going into tank like we did before. Now, I want to say that I think both playstyles are really, really good. Phoenix is still going to be the preferred playstyle for team fighting, but in a different way. So if you want to be more of a frontline tank diver, I think Phoenix is the best way to play. If you want to be someone that is an assassin, or someone that's really good at peeling and can one-shot enemy front lines that overcommit or engage too early, for instance, I think Tiger is the best way to play. Both are extremely viable, both are extremely strong, and I think going into next season, Udyr is going to be S tier. And once people take the time to learn him and figure him out, and we're going to go into this in the next segment of the video, I'm going to talk about tips and tricks. Once people get the flow down and the playstyle down, Udyr is insanely broken and should be in anybody's rotation, I think, right now. So in the Tiger section, I shouted out another content creator, Metasolare. I'm also going to do the same for Phoenix. I think Aribo is the best Phoenix player in the world, probably the best Udyr player in all honesty. He is a 1000 LP US player, and he knows a lot about Phoenix. He's kind of the one that made the staple of like doing the Boots of Swiftness into Medjai's or into Darkseal, so he is a great resource. I don't know what his main account is, but I know what his Twitter is, and at least on this account that he's playing on right now, I did a little research. It looks like he's doing a little Smurferino here, so but it sounds like he's 1000 LP right now, so go check him out if you want a good resource for Phoenix. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do what I like to call rapid fire tips. Here are some general tips on how to get better at Udyr without specifically coaching you guys one-on-one. I can only do so much, but here are things that I have learned, so it might help you guys speed up the amount of time it takes you to learn Udyr. In the background, I'm going to be running a pretty generic clear cycle so you guys can see how to clear on Udyr. But I would say focus more on the tips, because the clear speed is whatever, considering they just changed how jungle works. It's all subject to change. In general, your game plan as Udyr should be to clear 2 full clears as fast as possible, go back to base, spend gold, and then set up for the dragon. Other rule of thumb that I think all Udyr players should know: don't go for a gank or a counter gank unless you know you can get something out of it. In addition, you're always going to want to go green next season. The ability to get 20% tenacity just built in is insane. Green will be the preferred jungle item for Udyr in every single game until they nerf it. I would say that prioritizing Krugs is really, really important in the early game, and making sure you get at least 3 Krug clears before 10 minutes. Rift Herald is your best friend, especially if you're going Tiger Udyr. If you're going Tiger Udyr, you should prioritize getting dragons and Rift Heralds as soon as they spawn every single game, because isolation Q is really important. You should only use Awaken E if you need it to engage or disengage. It is the worst awakening by far and should only be used in situations that absolutely need it. Awaken Q should always be used if a target is isolated, regardless of how many points you have elsewhere. If the target is isolated, if Q only has 1 point into it, use Awakening Q. Awakening W is the best late game ability once you get points into it. However, it is only good if you have put or built items that have resistances. So if you're not planning on building tanky, don't put points into W. Awaken R is the best ability in the game once you get Demonic Embrace. Before it, you should only use Awaken R for purposes of kiting. Once you get Demonic, you can use it for the purposes of dealing massive AoE damage. In general, when you're playing Tiger, you are only strong once you build your first attack damage component. So on your first back, you should either buy a Serrated Dirk or a Warhammer, depending which item path you're going into. Phoenix is not strong until 2 items, so your game plan should be not to die as much as you can help it in the early game. Stay alive and try and get as much XP as possible. Rod of Ages will be the best mythic in the game for Phoenix until further notice, until they nerf it or the item gets changed. So that is it. I know that is a lot of information all at once, so I plan on making at least 2 follow-up videos to this. One is how to use Awakenings on Udyr, and then number 2 is how to clear effectively on Udyr. So those 2 are definitely coming, but if you guys have any extra ideas on how to make good value content for you guys to help in your own climb or to teach you how to play Udyr, what do you guys want to see from me? And I will do my best to deliver on it. I have a lot of videos that I want to make, but I want to make sure they're addressing your concerns as well. So let me know in the comment section below. If you're new around here, make sure to follow and subscribe. I stream live over at twitch.tv/WillieP. That's the best place to catch me live. Other than that, thank you for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next one.